Welcome everyone to another episode of Comic Movie Marks. My name is Matt, and I am one half of the Movie Marks. Next to me is the one and only Captain Saves a Ho, my co-host Shane.
Up, and away!
Today we bring you the list no one asked for, the top 6 worst finishers in wrestling. These finishers are the ones that bore you, the ones that make you shout, what the fuck, and all the ones that John Cena does. Let's hit a Superman punch for the win and start a riot. These are the top 6 worst finishers in wrestling. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and those of unspecified genders. We are here to break down the top 6 worst finishers in wrestling.
How I got to my top 6 worst finishers, honestly, it didn't even really come over time. These were pretty easy to get to. It was just growing up. There's certain things that you look at when watching wrestling, and you go, you know what, that's just pretty ridiculous. That's what finishes a match. As a kid, you know, the wrestlers can get away with making certain things believable, and you just buy into it right away. But as an adult, when you're looking at them, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the wrestlers prey on you because you're a child.
Yeah, exactly.
With their wonky, shitty finishers.
Yeah, that's what I was going with.
For me, these are not what you necessarily see on a worst finisher list. These are the ones that annoy me. These are the ones that are just stupid. I don't understand how they can keep producing these moves and still do them, and people actually believe this would even finish anything, let alone a fucking another human being. So first, we're going to start off with honorable mentions. It looks like I'm the only one with an honorable mention, and I'm going to get internet hate like crazy on this one, but I'm going to go with the Yes Lock. This thing is a freaking poor ripoff of the Crippler Crossface. It's not even done well, and all it is just for people to chant yes. It was a gimmick lock. That's what it is. Nothing more than that.
That's what it should be
Nothing
called.
more needs to be said. It's stupid.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get into the top 6 worst finishers. Shane, go ahead and give us your number 6.
All right. So my number 6 is the Cranium Crunch. And one of the only reasons I remember this is playing the old school video games. And this is going to be a theme for my list. There was Crush, who looked pretty awesome. You know, he had decent music as a little kid. And then when you would throw in his finisher and do the Cranium Crunch, you're like, wow, that looks kind of goofy. He literally picks up, this is in the video game, grabs a guy by his head and lifts him up over his head and then smashes his ass to the ground. So you kind of think, okay, well, that can't look as ridiculous when you're watching it, you know, in the early 90s. No, it looks even worse because he can't even pick up the guy very high. So he just kind of like almost just mashes him to the ground with his head, and you'd think that the guy would somehow be able to wiggle out of it, and no, that's how he finishes someone. So it's just ridiculous.
Sounds like a stupid move, just like my honorable mention, something to tie into the name or something.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
My name's Crush, so I have to have the Cranium Crush.
Yep, exactly.
I vaguely remember that move.
Yeah.
It was so shitty I can barely remember it.
Yeah, I think he only beat Jobbers with it. That's essentially.
I think the Jobbers kicked out.
Yeah, they should have.
From what it sounds like, I think the Jobbers probably kicked out. So my number 6 is the Torture Rack. My problem with this move is, one, he did put a couple big guys up on it, but it just looks stupid. He puts a guy on his shoulders, relaxing the guy's all the way across it, and he just bounces up and down. You can never tell, one, if the guy ever gives up, because he's just sitting there and just bouncing around.
Yeah, it's the official that tells you. Oh, I think he's done now.
It just seemed like to me Lex came up with the move just because he wanted to work his calves a little bit more.
Yeah,
get some weights on his back, get some calf raises,
and
stuff like that. It just looks like crap. It's not a very effective move. I mean, I get it. Yeah, okay, the weight your body is on your ribs, but most people sleep like that. He's got big enough shoulders. Most people sleep like that, and they're bouncing him. So it's one of those beds that you put a quarter in, and it bounces you around in the old hotels.
Yeah, I think for me as a kid, I liked it. Just the size of Lex Luger. He gets the guys up there, and he's kind of like wrenching as he does it.
I was about to say, I think he used to wrench on it, but the ones I can remember, he never did.
Right.
He stopped doing it because he got lazy, he got a paycheck, so he gave up on it.
Pretty much. And a lot of what was interesting is it was the jobbers that he would wrench on, or, the lower card guys when he would wrench on it. And then if it was like a Macho Man or a Sting or a Hogan, it was just kind of like a shoulder shrug, and then the guy would fall off. So I could see it, but as a kid, I liked it. I liked Lex Luger as a wrestler, so I thought it was pretty cool. And it actually, the transition from doing the running forearm in WWF to the torture rack in WCW, I liked the torture rack a lot better than the running
And you can
forearm.
go join them on the Lex Express. Fuck that move.
Yeah, so my number 5 is the Umaga Spike. And I don't want to go on to this huge tangent about Umaga. I know he's a Samoan beast or whatever the hell his gimmick was. I hated it. And not to mention, I hated his stupid finishing move. All it was a taped up thumb that he would just mash into your neck, I guess, or your collarbone or something. And that was supposed to end the match. It was ridiculous. There's certain things you can get away with. That one, especially in today's day and age. This wasn't even the 90s. This was 2009, 2008, and that was his finisher. And to me, it was ridiculous. They didn't even say, at least with Lex Luger and the running forearm, he had a metal plate in his forearm. That's what they used and said, oh, it's illegal, it's banned, and he would use it as his finisher. They didn't say anything of what his spike was supposed to be. Is it a metal thumb? No, it's just his damn thumb.
What a gimmick. That'd be great to come out. He's just got little plates on his thumb. The Samoan Spike, maybe it's just a professional thumb wrestler, so now he's got the strength.
Yeah, that could be.
Jam people.
Curls and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It just looked ridiculous.
Okay, my number 5 is the Hell's Gate. Once again, I'm probably going to get crap for this. It's a really shitty version of a Gogoplata. If you actually type in Gogoplata is done by actual MMA experts, you will see how hardcore that move really is. Mm-hmm. The move that The Undertaker pulls off is so lazy and so half-assed done. They couldn't knock anybody out. One, the person's head is completely relied on the fact that it's sitting on his ankle and his his hands that he can barely reach behind the person's head are holding that down. All the person has to do is look to his left or look to his right, and move is done.
Right.
He's not putting pressure on it like he's supposed to. He's supposed to wrap the arm and torque the arm back and put your ankle completely locked up against the person's throat.
Gotcha.
And so the person's shoulder getting pressed down actually locks down on top of their ankle, and then you're holding the other part of your ankle with your other part of your leg, and that actually chokes somebody out because you're pushing down with your leg onto your ankle, and that actually chokes them out. That is what's supposed to knock him out. This shit that he does is garbage. And the fact that they actually had Brock Lesnar pass out to this move, a guy that actually has fought in the UFC.
Right, after flipping him off.
He did, which was cool. He got to flip him off and everything beforehand. But the fact that he is a UFC champion, he taps out to a shit well, he didn't tap out. He passed out to a shit Gogoplata. Oh my God. I can't believe they even let him do that. I can't believe he even agreed to that as an actual MMA fighter.
Yeah.
He went out to that. I hate that move. It's stupid. Fucking Taker needed to move so he could lay on his back because he's an old man.
Yeah, for me, it kind of depends. There's certain times it's bad. I know hardly anything about MMA or the UFC, and there's certain times where I can tell, like, okay, he's not really doing anything with it. Right. Sometimes he can fool me, and it looks good. I guess it just depends on the situation, but it is pretty bad that it's not even consistent with me to fool me who doesn't really know anything, where there's sometimes where I could see right through it. I'm like, okay, that's not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I almost want, even the yes lock, that's why it's not even on my list. At least, even though he does a really shitty job at it, he's pulling the neck back.
Right.
I mean, this is literally the guy's neck is just resting on the ankle, and literally all he has to do is turn left or right.
Right.
And that's all he has to do. And the way he's positioned, his hands can't pull down hard enough to actually apply any kind of pressure. It's a terrible move. It's dumb, and it was just an excuse so the Undertaker can have another move.
Yeah, I guess add to his repertoire.
And make it call something cool, the Hell's Gate.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 4 is the Great Khali Chop. Again, sticking to the similarities with the Umaga Spike, I didn't really like Great Khali as a character. I actually thought he was poorly booked. You have this guy who looks massive in The Longest Yard. I think he was also in Get Smart as this huge, I want to say Russian spy. And you have this character that if he's booked properly, can do damage. But not only does the WWE just completely destroy that, but he has this lame chop. I don't remember if it was on his head or on his collarbone, but he couldn't give enough mass or I guess force to make it seem believable when
Right.
if it'd smack you in the face or whatever with it. It just, I hated it. It looks terrible. I don't know why. I'm not even sure if it ever finished a match. I really hope it didn't. But that was supposed to be his finisher, and I think it was supposed to be he was supposed to hit the collarbone, which makes it even worse than trying to knock someone out with it. It's just stupid.
From what I understand, some of the things I've heard about that guy is that he was just hard to work with. The WWE didn't really have much choice on how they were going to book him.
Mm-hmm.
He was so limited, and they had those, what is that, Punjabi, whatever the hell
Right,
that
yeah.
one match was.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
Yeah, Punjabi.
Something like
I
that.
don't
Punani,
remember. Yeah.
something like that. It was some ridiculous cage match. That was just such a gimmick, and that just proves sometimes that they rely too much on size to actually try to sell something.
Yeah.
No one gave a crap about that guy.
No, not at all. Well, except for India. Like he's the biggest thing.
That's right, international.
Yeah, which is great, but he should have been so much more menacing, and they had him like that early on. Kind of, they did a poor job with it, and then he became like this love guru type character, which made it even worse. It was similar to Mark Henry, where you go from this powerhouse, Olympic, to the sexual chocolate. And it worked better on Mark Henry than it did on Great Khali.
I actually believed he was a sexual top.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 is Big Show's Dumb Punch. I know it has a better name than that, but for me, it's Big Show's Dumbass Punch. So we're going to go with that. I get it. Big guy punches you. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Apparently, it knocks you out. If you see enough freaking videos on YouTube, you see he misses it so badly.
Yeah.
It's a move that doesn't get, if you put it in slow motion for any second, it looks so bad because it completely misses the people every time, because he's not going to actually punch someone in the face. It just looks terrible when they do that. And he's a big guy. Why does he not have a big move?
Right.
He should be power bombing people. He should be just stick with the choke slam. He used to do that nice falling choke slam where he would go down with them.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess he's too old, so he wants to freaking just punch straight and call that a move. Give him something more with impact.
Yeah.
But no, they give him this dumbass punch, I guess because it can come out of nowhere.
I guess I completely agree. I guess with that it's a little bit more understandable, where I understand the creative direction that they were trying to go, but it just looks retarded. And then, like you said, when they would show a replay of it, it looks even worse.
Oh.
But they're trying to make it seem all epic. Let's check out the replay from all these different angles. No, it just looks awful.
Yeah, he misses him by a mile. And then the people look retarded when they're like, nah, and they pretend to go Queer Street.
Yeah.
And so it looks awful. It's a dumb punch. It's a dumb move. Big Show retire.
Yeah. So my number 3, I'm not even sure if this finished anyone, but it just looks ridiculous, is the diving headbutt. It was used by Chris Benoit. It was used by Daniel Bryan, by Bam Bam Bigelow, and every single version of it looks dumb. I can't stand it. I don't even know why it's a move in the repertoire of, you know what, I'm going to dive off and smack my head on your head or on your shoulder or whatever. And
on your stomach or abdomen.
Yeah, and that's supposed to finish you. That's supposed to hurt you more than it hurts me.
Yeah.
So it made my worst list because it's my worst list, and it's a terrible move.
Yeah, even if it's not considered a finisher, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
My number 3, of course, is the atomic leg drop. The Hulk Hogan big boot leg drop. I know it finished off Andre, but that's the only thing it finished. This move, I know it looks ridiculous now. I get it. I grew up there in that time frame. It looked great. It got him over. People loved it. You always knew it was coming when he landed the big boot and then the leg, and it finished people off. It definitely didn't stand the test of time, even in the 2000s when he was still doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awful. It's so bad.
Yeah. And in the 90s, and what's weird is he led with a boot to the face, which I guess is okay, but it wasn't even like a kick to the face. It was, I'm going to put up my boot and use your momentum to hit my big 16 size boot or whatever it is, and then into this awesome leg drop.
And then he did so much, he actually dropped 2 inches in height.
Yeah.
He dropped so much on his tailbone, he dropped 2 inches in height, or even more than that. And he even jokes about it himself, Hulk Hogan does. He talks about, man, I always bragged about having 26-inch pythons. You think my finishing move would have been a sleeper?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
choke people out with those
yeah,
big fuckers.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
no, he decided to jump on his ass every night, and so
Well, I'm not even sure why it got over back then. I guess because a lot of people were using splashes, and you had like Earthquake and all these different guys using bigger type moves, but you still had the sleeper hold. You still had the flying elbow by Macho Man. You still had the DDT by Jake the Snake.
yeah.
All these different moves that to me stood the test of time, and now they're getting butchered by the current product.
The
but
nostalgia people are just using them as high spots.
yeah, but I'm not sure why the leg drop, the big boot leg drop combo got over in the 80s.
It beat Andre, man. That's the only thing.
Yep. So my number 2, and this is going back to the video game, is where it all started for me. The Royal Rumbles, the WrestleManias, is Shawn Michaels' slingshot suplex. He actually did use this move, and it was in the video game. Again, even when you're playing it and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna build this up and I'm gonna be able to use this guy's finisher, it just looks ridiculous. In the video game, it's worse. You have to get your guy to where he's standing there in a dazed state and try to maneuver behind him with your Sega or Super Nintendo controller.
Sega.
Yeah. And then perform the move with whatever combo buttons that it was supposed to be. So it was ridiculous in that. He did use it for a short period of time in the WWF, and it looked just as bad. And the fact that it was supposed to be a finisher, he made my top best list as the best finisher in the Sweet Chin Music, and he's definitely number 2 on this one. I'm glad he transitioned away from it because it looked ridiculous.
So the next list should be top 6 worst finishers in video games now?
Yeah. I have plenty.
Oh. So, okay, my number 2 is, once again, I'm not going to be loved by anybody, is the 619 by Rey Mysterio. I don't know how... This goes almost back to the leg drop. How in any way is this move believable? One, the setup for it is just ridiculous. You have to knock them down and perfectly place them just right in the middle rope so he can come along, swing his little legs, kick you in the face. Then you have to land perfectly horizontal in the middle of the ring so he can jump on the top rope and splash on you. This little midget is going to jump on you and splash you. No weight to this guy at all. The kick looks like crap.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this move got over so much and how ridiculous it was.
Yeah, and Rey Mysterio has a pretty awesome move set, that he could have pulled any other finisher from.
Just watch WCW back in the day.
Yeah.
He used to jump off the rope and he would do a hurricanrana into a pin, and it looked great. I know a lot of the guys you can't do that with now. Oh, some of the guys, but in his time period when he was wrestling in WWE.
Right.
In WWE, some of those guys couldn't pull that off, but that was at least a cool looking move.
Yeah, try something else.
He would come off the rope, hurricanrana into a nice roll up, and it would look great. It was tight. It looked like a legitimate pin. Like you could really beat someone with that.
Right. Well, he had a lot of high flying moves, and like I said, a pretty good repertoire that he could have pulled from, and that's what he chose to set up as his finisher. And I don't know. I'm not sure how it got over either.
Yeah, how people got so excited to watch a guy fall on a second rope and then get kicked in the face and then splashed by a midget. I don't understand how that got over.
Yeah. So I'll jump to my number 1, the worst finisher, and here's where the heat's going to get switched over, is the Ultimate Warrior Splash. You have all these things that you can do. He's a powerhouse. I can kind of buy the setup where he does the gorilla press and he just drops him, which is kind of cool. He, it's not a gentle thing. He just drops him. But to finish with the splash, it just looks ridiculous. Even when you watch the match at WrestleMania 6 against Hogan, and that's how the finish happens.
Yeah, that's how he beats the guy that's never been beaten cleanly.
Right. Yep.
He beats him with a splash.
Yep. And Hogan actually kicks out just a hair too late.
Oh,
which is probably a little bit more realistic.
He probably did that on purpose just to screw Warrior. But.
Yeah. I hated it. I didn't really like it as a kid, and even now it looks even worse. Again, you do have the big boot and the leg drop and all these ridiculous finishers back then, but you also had some great finishers, and if you're a powerhouse, you should be using something else.
Yeah, a powerhouse type move. Right. Yeah, something stronger than that. Yeah. So now to my number 1, and this is where all you people are going to love me. My number 1 is John Cena. Anything he does is a terrible finisher. He has diluted his moves so badly. What the hell is that thing called? The attitude adjustment?
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called beforehand.
The FU.
The FU. You have to pull that thing off at least 6 times a match to pin somebody. He has killed his own finisher because you know he gets saying how the matches go. You know, you know he's telling the guy to kick out, kick out.
Yeah.
You know
You're gonna kick out 12 times,
and it looks
then I'll
like
beat you.
Crap.
Yeah.
And then his 5-knuckle crapple, that thing is garbage. It's a wannabe White Rock trying to do a cool move off the rope.
Yeah.
To get the fans all excited. He even pulls the wristband off.
Yeah.
Bounces off the ropes and drops that
nice
hand.
pop.
And again, when they put that thing in slow motion, it looks like crap because he clearly misses and punches the mat every time. And then the person has to freaking flail around.
Yeah, and then he even has, now I can't even think of it, but it's his own version of the Yes Lock Crippler Crossface.
The STFU. I
right,
that.
that's right.
I don't know what it's called now.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Learn to tighten that thing up.
Yeah, he does it so loose, and again, you could see right through it. It's terrible.
All he's doing is squeezing their cheeks. And I'm talking about their face cheeks, not their ass cheeks, just in case there's some perverts out there.
People. Yeah, I don't know. And when he started getting really big, or actually after he won the belt already and he was feuding with Edge, he used the attitude adjustment, the FU, I'm going to call it. He used it so well in a lot of those matches, throwing him through several tables stacked on top of each other. And I don't recall Edge kicking out of it very much. It was about the setup to the FU, Edge trying to weasel out of the hold itself, before he slams him. So back then he actually saved it a little bit more. Now it's just a spot fest and, trying to get the false finish and get a pop of like, oh, well, is it going to take 3? Is it going to take 9?
Yeah. No, back in the day, the attitude adjustment, or FU, whatever you want to call it, or the piece of shit, whatever you want to call it, he actually used it like Randy Orton uses the RKO now. Yeah. It used to be kind of the guy jumps off the top rope, he catches him on his shoulders, attitude adjustment, or FU.
A cross body, and then he would use his power. He's a strong dude, and he'd use his power to pick the guy up or lift the guy up onto his shoulders,
throw him,
and
chuck him up on his shoulders,
and then he could do it to people like the Big Show, Mark Henry, these bigger guys, and so it was great at one point, and then he's just diluted it, and now it just looks ridiculous.
He's killed his own move. He's killed everything that he built up. Because he wants to make all these epic kickouts. Yeah. These 2 3/4 kickouts, 2 7/9 kickouts, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And how many
9/10.
And in turn, it completely discredits the first, the second, and sometimes even the third. You know that, okay, boom, here it is. And he doesn't take his time getting to the guy. He gives him the FU, goes right over the cover. 1, 2, kick out. So that there's no build. So you just know as a fan, okay, well, how many is it going to be? 1 or 2 on this match? Okay, now are we starting to get into where it's an actual false finish and there's some believability? I don't know. And it also, and it takes away from what the broadcasters can do because so many people have kicked out of 3, whereas before it was, oh my gosh, what is it going to take? And you can put a guy over by kicking out of 3 finishers. But now everyone does it. So what does it matter?
Yeah, and hopefully with these matches coming up against AJ Styles, hopefully they tighten some things up.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the chance that, this is the opportunity that John Cena gets to bring some of that flavor back. Because right now he just looks like crap. And I get why people boo him.
Yeah.
He's not really doing anything to try to look better. I'm not saying he doesn't have good matches, but his finishes always seem predictable. You always watch him. You're like, okay, here comes the second, here comes the third, here comes the fourth FU. He does now even when it comes to that 5-knuckle crap thing, people always seem to reverse that on him in the beginning. When he looks down at him, they kick him in the head or they roll out of the way. Right. And so even now that's getting transitioned out. So he's got his little shitty submission, the STFU. He never tightens it up. It never looks good.
Yeah. I'm not sure how he's supposed to be the face of the company and beats these guys with horrible finishers.
And he just killed it. He just killed his own crap. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that finishes our top 6 worst finishers in wrestling. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment below and tell me how great I am. Yes, yes, yes. Fucker.